There we go. There we go. Happy Sunday. Pop in, say hello. If you've never popped into one of my lives before, hi, I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside, and oh my goodness. Just going to adjust this a little bit. When you come in, if you want to say hi, if you want to join in on the conversation, absolutely amazing. We have some amazing people who show up here on Sunday nights. And hello, Andrew. And Andrew is definitely one of them, right? Happy to have you here tonight. How's your week been going, Andrew? How's your week been going? I'll tell ya, mine has been a doozy. Like I said, it has been a week full of lessons and a week full of, well, I don't know. I'm looking around now at everything and I'm going, right? There's so much to do, but sometimes you have to make a mess to clean a mess. And I say that lots of times, especially when I get into my projects. I'm starting my kitchen. Thank goodness. It's a project I've been trying to get at for the longest time. So I'm going to get some donation bags ready and clean out those cupboards, maybe make a little bit of extra storage for myself. And that's probably what it is. I've outgrown my space. That must be exciting for you, Andrew, for a change of scenery, number one. And then actually to be in a building that's almost 100 years old. That's got to be interesting, right? It makes the transitioning of moving a little bit comfortable, especially when you get to be part of that team of setting it up. It's kind of like you're creating it, right? Like you're part of the creation. I hope you're happy at your new place of work residence there, Andrew. I really hope you do. And I have to say, we do have to be grateful for our jobs, don't we? There are lots of people out there who would do anything to have the opportunity to put a decent roof over their heads. And I have to appreciate that. I've been watching, I have a couple of favorite travelers that I do like to watch. And the Indigo Traveler, I don't know if you watch him. He's he's traveling Haiti right now, and it gives you a really crazy perspective, and not a perspective that makes you think of what is all this, because he in his videoing and in his exploring, it goes as a tourist, but he shows the true state of places, right? He's not going to the tourist traps, he's going to the meat of it. And some of these places that you go to, and you see the unhygienics, right? You see the infrastructure, you see the suffering, you see the struggle, but sometimes you see those smiles and the joy and the happiness at the same time, and you think, oh my goodness, when you look at your life and you grumble because you break a fingernail, or your house, you're overgrowing your house, you have to appreciate your circumstances. You have to be grateful. And I didn't know I was going to do that, but I think just in saying that for myself, I have to recognize that I have to be grateful for the roof over my head, and I have to be grateful for the job that puts the roof over my head, right? Understanding, right? As I come to these kind of understandings, that it will be um, better for me. My circumstances will change, right? Because lots of times we're in the situations that we're in, right? We're in the housing that we're in the jobs that we're in the relationships that we're in, because they're meant to serve us lessons in the moment. Hello, Owen, dear. Hello, Owen. How's your week been going? Just going to read here Andrew's comment. Morrison Hall. Oh, oh, how interesting. And what is the building made of, Andrew? What is the actual structured makeup of the building? Just so I have a picture when you talk about your work, that I can visualize you in your little workspace, right? And send you some good cheer, right? Are there trees? Do you have a nice picture window to look out at when you do your work? If you have that opportunity to set up the workplace, Andrew, do you have a say in where your workspace might be? So do you have that opportunity to pick the spot where you'll be working? Wouldn't that be nice if you could situate yourself in a space where you can look out the window? It's important to have that comfortableness in your workspace. It's everything. And sometimes when the work gets really heavy, right? We're in the work. We don't have time to go outside and get some fresh air, or right, say, excuse me, we'll go to the washroom, and disappear for 10 or 15 minutes. Sometimes if you just have a window that you can look out at a bird on a tree, right? You see the leaves blowing away, or you could see a couple having a conversation. Sometimes that's just enough to ground you back into what you're supposed to be doing. Go, oh, okay, good, okay. Not missing anything too exciting, and you're back to it. We have lots of limestone too. Thing is, here Manitoba is very rocky, so a lot of our skyscrapers and stuff, they're made of granite. So like the slate, but slate is very soft, right? I think you have to compound it and layer it very compact in order for it to hold up to the weight of the floors and stuff. Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I'm understanding. Oh, you were saying, okay, limestone. I think that's what it is. A granite is a limestone, isn't it? You went to the beach, Owen. That's absolutely amazing. Did you go to the beach by yourself, or did you go to the beach with your family? I know your mom is still in recovering. How's your mom doing? Oh, beautiful, Andrew. So you think you might like it? Oh, awesome, Owen. Just by yourself, right? That's absolutely amazing that you can have a little bit of time to just go off and be with yourself, right? I know I went for a little bit of a uh, walk yesterday. I went for a bike ride today. Sat on a bench yesterday and looked at the river pass by. Just stood in contemplation, right? Just in a little bit of reflection of my week, right? Not just my week, but of my future and the actions coming up. I have a new show coming to my platform here, you guys. It's going to be starting on Tuesday. Tuesday is the first, right? Tomorrow's my sister's birthday. Or sorry, the first is my sister's birthday, but we decided that it works good for everybody by celebrating with the family on Monday, and that way she can go off on Tuesday and celebrate with her friends. Monday, I will be here live. I'm going to aim for 9 a.m. I'm just going to get right, right into it, and I'm just going to carry right on as my show was on Instagram. Now, for the most part, you have not seen my show Instagram. Kathy is um, a fond um, subscriber to me over on Instagram, and she hangs out with me there. So I suspect that possibly Nancy will be with my content here with my show. What's my good cheer? It's an everyday show. The show is on mindset. I do believe that mindset would have done me so much wonders as a child, right? That I might have discovered who I was meant to be a lot sooner if I had a little bit of confidence instilled into me, and I had teachers who believed in me, and I had students that understood boundaries, and that even I understood boundaries. I had no idea what a boundary is. I had people crossing my boundaries my entire my entire life. Oh my goodness. Right? I did have a trait that, that sticking up for myself and not turning the other cheek. I'm proud that I had that little piece of I don't know. It's a character trait, isn't it? you know Grateful to have that part of me, but for the most part, I've had my boundaries crossed my entire life. And when I woke up to some of these ideas about what happened when I was a child, right? Some of that trauma that sometimes instills into our systems that we don't seem to shake off, that changes us, that sometimes when we change, we reject how we change. And when we reject how we change, in reality, what we're doing is rejecting ourselves. And that's not something I ever wanted to do, right? I found, a little bit in the programming of my life, my upbringing, right? That I did learn to reject myself and not give myself the things that I needed. And Owen here, when he says he went to the beach and he just went by himself, we shouldn't be afraid to go off and do things with ourselves and by ourselves. For a lot of us, right, who are highly sensitive, right? Lots of us here are. We recognize it in each other, right? That's why we hang out with each other. That sometimes we don't give enough of ourselves, and we can find that when we have our boundaries crossed so many times that we love. We get to learn to love our solitude, right? We don't want to be out there and, right? Like, I call them like bumper cars, bumping up to people that, right? That don't rub us well, or we don't rub well, right? We don't know why we don't rub them well. And we walk away from these situations going, what was that all about? Right? And then just hope we handled it okay. But when that happens a lot, sometimes we can find that we hang out with ourselves a little bit too much, right? And it's important for us to stay connected to others, to be social beings, to share these kind of things that we learn about ourselves, right? Because these might be things that some people might not have ever encountered, right? Or ever had the opportunity to realize that Maybe other people thought the same way that they thought, right? Or enjoy going off by themselves. And I do too, Owen. I love going off by myself. It's it's number one, you're not having to entertain other people, right? You don't have to be somebody that you're not, right? It's that walk's just for you. The scenery is just for you. What you want to think about is just for you. Where you want to stop off for coffee or, something to drink. It's up for you. That's all for you. And then sometimes, right, because we have people who depend on us, that when we're around, right, we're always needed, we're always set into task, right? There's always something that needs our attention, that we're back into it. But if we understand every once in a while how important it is, right, to do those little things for ourselves, I think that's absolutely amazing, Owen. Was there anything interesting at the beach? Anything interesting at the beach happen? I like the beaches too, but I'm usually looking at the rocks. I'm looking at pebbles and interesting stones, and I'm looking at the water, right? Just the way it kind of washes back and forth against the shore. Yeah, I'm looking forward to being in Mother Nature again, and I think that's my idea of taking these little breaks for myself by going for a bike ride or going for a walk, right? Or just even sitting here with no music on or, right? Nothing going on YouTube. And then I'm just in that silence of myself. I went live today on my Instagram, but my battery ran off of my phone. So I think after my live tonight, I might go back to my Instagram and do another live show because I do show up there fresh like a loaf of bread every single day, right? And when I don't show up there, even if it's not my fault, or even if I did show up, I like the show to be saved so that when people come home, that it's suggestible to them, right? So don't worry if you guys are at work or anything, right? This is our Sunday night, right? Um, this is our live. So if you make it into my other live at any point, amazing, right? But don't feel you have to do both shows. I appreciate that you come and hang out with me on Sunday nights here. What? Wow, Andrew, you live in the one of the poorest cities in the country? I like being in the old buildings too, Andrew. Well, you know I do. I'm looking forward to the next doors open in Winnipeg. It was so interesting how I was able to wrangle myself a new historical building when I was going back into being a ambassador for a building I had already done, but it was the least of all the buildings every year that I had ever done, and then it just worked out perfect that I got to be introduced to a building I didn't even know was in the city because it was just dropped in a residential area just off the side of one of the most notorious, busiest, low income, like very, very homeless alcoholics, like really bad end of town. And it's just tucked away amongst the trees, right? Down a side street, right? In the same neighborhood, but no graffiti, no vandalism. And it was a beautiful church, beautiful stained glass, beautiful graveyard, beautiful fencing and flowers and what do they call it? Landscaping. Yeah, it was really nice. My my new cup. This is the first time I'm trying my My Disney cup. I don't know who the character is. Lady and the Tramp? No, those were dogs, weren't they? Somebody can remind me what Disney movie this one is from 101 Dalmatians? No, those cats were Siamese. They weren't nice cats. Oh, the aristocrats. Thank you. The aristocrats. Wow, Andrew, you are certainly Andrew the all knowing. Like, are you a Disney fan? I don't even remember. I must have seen that Disney movie Aristocrats. I don't remember it. I could barely remember the character, but I recognized it, but I didn't recognize what movie it was from. And I love the Disney movies. I don't know. Did guys enjoy the Disney movies as much as the girls did? Was it equally um what is it? Like, when we heard there was a new Disney movie or Saturday matinee and there was going to be a Disney movie being shown, we would get so excited, even if we knew that the movie had been played. Like we'd seen the movie on television 100 times or we saw it in the theater 100 times. I would always get excited for certain Disney movies. Oh, good. And what was your favorite of the well, it's hard to say when you're put on the spot what your favorite of the Disney movies are. But I know for myself, I did like Snow White. I liked Beauty and the Beast. I like Cinderella too, but not as much. I like the mystery and the adventure and the action that's added into a movie, and it just seemed to me there was more of that going on in the suspense and going on in the Snow White, right? And the apple and a little bit of mystery. I like that. Some of the new Disneys too, right? Like, these are not Disneys, but these, oh, I'll grab a couple. I just found out that there is a new Ice Age movie that I have not seen, you guys. I have not seen this Ice Age movie, and uh it's out now, and it's called. When you think you want to remember a name or a title, so you sing a little song or you say a little phrase or you associate it with somebody's name and stuff. I did that and still forgot the name of the Ice Age movie. Oh darn. Maybe Andrew will figure it out for me. Seeing he's Andrew the all-knowing. What was that? I can't remember what it was, but the Ice Age movies are my absolute favorite. And the moment I can get my hands on the new one that's out, I'm all over it. And I don't even think it's the new one. Has a mind full of trivia. I used to like that game, Andrew Trivia Pursuit. That was fun. My dad, we played lots of board games and had lots of adventures and stuff together. Um, my dad liked playing cards. Of course, my dad being a gambler, he would like the games. He tried to teach me bridge. He wanted me to be his bridge partner, but I could never get bridge. I could never get it. And it's funny, when my dad passed away, the entire bridge club, and I never met any of them, none of them, but every single one of them came to my dad's funeral. People just loved my dad. But yeah, I never could get bridge. But we play games, other kinds of card games like poker and stuff. We played a lot of penny poker and lots of cribbage. We played tons of cribbage. My family loved cribbage. Us kids, we loved the fish, right? I know Andrew, he plays solitaire. You play solitaire, right, Andrew? I know when I first started on computers, so we're going way back, and I'm very, very grateful. I'm just turning on my mouse. Um, I'm very grateful again that I hooked on to the digital age when I did, especially being in my age bracket, and the fact that um, technology was not big on my mother's part, but now I'm thinking about my father, and even though I look at the technology my father had, um uh it's only because of the seasons, you know what I mean? It was the 60s and the 70s, but my dad loved his stereo systems, and he when technology came in, I remember we had this great big floor model TV, and it looked like something out of 2001 Space Odyssey, and his Pioneer speakers that were taller than we were. And right in those days he loved the technology, even the people that my dad followed in when my dad was in his well, I guess he was in his own studies and in his own movement, right? But he had people that he admired, and some of those people like David Suzuki and Carl Sagan and Jacques Cousteau. He would wow, I just lost my train of thought there. Had something to do with the solitaire and the games. Wow, how did we trail off? Oh, it was the technology, right? Talking about how grateful I was for the for being able to hook onto technology the way that I did. But I guess it was something that I got off my dad, right? And I'm just recognizing that this very second. Why? Because it's outdated, right? Those old 8-track stereos and those cassette stereos and the VHS and right? Even though this TV looked like something out of 2001 Space Odyssey, you still had to get up off your butt and go change the channel. You didn't have a remote control, right? So I guess the love for technology and innovation that came from my father, and I'm grateful. I guess that I hooked on to this, right? Because I'm here right now, hanging out with you guys on Sunday night, right? And it makes me wonder where I could have possibly been in my life if I wasn't sitting here right now. And I think probably, right, it wouldn't have been pretty. Or maybe I wouldn't have even known what I had missed, because sometimes, what's that idea? You don't know, you don't know what you've lost. Oh, darn. You don't know what you're missing. Sometimes you just don't know what you're missing. You don't hurt because you don't know you're missing it, right? That's the thing. I didn't put the quote together quite properly. But yeah, sometimes I think that I could have missed out on a lot of movement, right? And again, it's probably because of those boundaries that we don't properly set for ourselves, and that's why I love this place on Sunday night, because this is mine. We set the boundaries here, right? Right? The people who like our content, even our Melvin, right? Oh, I love Melvin to death. I remember Melvin come in and he would spew the politics, right? knowing that for some people and for a lot of people, especially Americans, they love their politics and they get very passionate about it, but they dig under each other's skin and get their hackles up when it comes to politics. And then Melvin comes in here and he starts spewing, and he's so polite. Like, he comes in and he says hi to us, and we know he wants to spew, right? Because it's Melvin's nature to spew the politics, but in that politeness, right? Because that's what it is. It's just pure kindness that he comes in here and he just says hello, right? When he could come in and spew his business. But then again, right? That is that recognition of it takes all kinds to make the world, and we do have to interconnect. We do have to be social, right? And that was what I was talking about when I came in earlier, right? We are social creatures, and I just am grateful for this digital age, right? I'm grateful I got pulled. I'm grateful I got pulled into it. I'm grateful that I show up here every Sunday. I'm grateful for these relationships, right? That have kept me company over the past few years through difficult times, and there to celebrate those wonderful times, even that wonderful time is just a birthday cupcake and a live show, right? But we're going to be here. We're all going to jump on you and wish you a happy birthday. We sometimes forget, right? Right? We will let each other know. So if anybody has a birthday coming up, let me know. I'm transferring my addresses into my new address book, but I sure would like to take note of some of those birthdays because, oh boy, do I have a collection of beautiful, beautiful birthday cards. I have a whole shoebox full of cards that I've been collecting ever since I've been at this job, knowing that I picked the cards, and that when somebody's special and I have an occasion, I want to acknowledge that I can go into my shoebox and pick out the most perfect card that I think that might put a smile on somebody's face, right? Or give them a moment of peace, because sometimes it's more than likely most of my cards are landscapes. Did you get my card yet, Andrew? I sent you a card. Did you get your card? You don't know what you've got till it's gone. Okay, maybe that's not the saying that I was looking for. um you don't miss what you don't know. Oh, maybe that's what it is. Maybe that was the saying. You don't miss what you don't know, right? Right? If you never get that opportunity, if you never talk to that person who was going to offer you that great job, you're not going to know that you missed out on that great job because it wasn't even mentioned, because possibly you didn't even have that conversation. You're going to go home and it won't affect you in any way. That was the kind of the thing that I was trying to get across, right? That sometimes you don't miss what you don't know that you've missed. If you've missed an opportunity, sometimes that opportunity just flies by you and everything just seems like normal, right? But really, it might have changed your life or your family's life or your city's life or your country's life or your save the world, right? That was the kind of thing I was trying. There's a saying, I don't know who says it, but there's a saying something like that. Yeah, I remember those TVs. Yeah, my dad had a spectacular TV. It was one of the things. We didn't have lots of company in our house. Our house, everybody loved my dad, but my dad kept all those social affairs outside the house. And then, of course, any free time that he had, he wanted to spend it with his family, right? So we were always doing adventures ourselves. But anybody who did come by our house at any time, they always raved about that TV. That I'd never seen a TV. It would have been a TV that maybe if it was 1977, it would have been a TV that probably Elvis would have loved to have held. It was a white TV. It was very space agey. It was very space agey. It was on a pedestal. Yeah, it was like that Danish furniture made like out of Danish was plastic, right? It was plastic, but the outer coating framing of the TV was yeah, it just looked like a piece of furniture, Danish furniture. Yeah. Like maybe a piece of IKEA furniture, right? But out of the 70s. But again, like I said, I'm just thinking now that I didn't think of my dad as very uh, tech technology savvy, but only because I'm looking at it from 2023. I'm not looking at it from the technology of 1977, because in 1977 there wasn't any DVD players. There wasn't any DVD players yet, right? I think VHS hadn't even been invented yet. We just got out of the 8 tracks. I think we had cassettes and records still. Yeah, I remember my dad's Pioneer. All my dad's records, all his Stravinsky and Tchaikovsky and Mozart and Wagner and his Santana. My dad loves Santana. Yeah, Black Magic Woman. Yeah. My dad, you looked at him, he looked very conservative, very conservative. He looked like a police officer or a judge or a businessman, right? But in reality, my dad, when you talk to him, he would have been more like uh, he was serious in the way he talked too. But the way he lived his life was very, very unique. It was very hippie-ish, right? Like he could have been a hippie, but he couldn't because he didn't look like a hippie. Right? But he had hippie friends, right? I remember his friends. Oh yeah, his friends were very hippie. But my dad was very straight laced. You might even consider him a suit if you were to think of him. And yet, my dad was a commercial fisherman. And in between, when there was no season for fishing on the boat, taking his boat out, he had a cab and he would drive cab. And there was really, really good money in cab. My dad, and of course, because everybody loved my dad, and because again, it was an industry where he learned the schmoo, he learned to connect with people where he well, my dad was the one I think who taught me that you can find a commonality with absolutely everybody, and that's the truth, right? There if you can spend some time talking to anybody or getting to know anybody, right? You can find a commonality because there are common things with all of us. We all breathe, right? That's why we always say, "Ooh, it was a hot one today," or "Oh my goodness, it was cloudy outside today," right? It's these beginnings of conversations. So, in these commonalities that you know at the very least, that you can start a conversation by talking about the weather, right? My my dad, well, we could never trust the weatherman. Even today in 2023, how often do we get the weather forecast right? You guys tell me where you live. I don't know. maybe it's different where you live, but our weathercasters and our newspapers and the weather channel on my phone, right? It's one of the things that we still have not been able to figure out to conquer, to even have the heads up. We're getting a little bit closer because sometimes we do get a little bit of forewarning that there's a tornado that's touching down, right? So that's getting better. And if they have an earthquake, they're getting those warnings out, possibility of a tsunami happening, right? So things are getting better. They're seeding clouds. They're seeing hurricanes, right? They're anticipating a little bit better when these hurricanes and these typhoons, right? That when they hit shore, we have a better idea of where they're going to hit, when they're going to hit, and how strong they're going to hit, right? Really, Andrew? Yeah, here in Winnipeg. Yeah. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's in the airstream because we get that stream from up north, right? And it's always going. So our weather is always dependent on that stream. I've always judged our weather here instead of relying. I rely on the weather channel. It's quick, it's fast, it's on my phone. I can know in a second. But if in all truth, I used to dictate what our weather is here going to be in 3 days by what the weather is like in Edmonton, Alberta, because of that stream, because of that wind stream, how it works. So that if I looked at the weather in Edmonton, that I could tell what the weather was going to be like here in Winnipeg in 24 to 36 hours, right? That's usually how I judge the weather. I did that right up, and probably I'm just recognizing now that I haven't done that for forever, but I used to do that probably right up until 2 years ago. Well, I guess maybe when I lost my vehicle, because I used to pay a lot closer attention to the weather when I had the vehicle, when I had my car, right? Because that would dictate to me whether I had to plug it in or unplug it. Because lots of times I'd pull out of my parking stall and destroy my electrical cord because I had plugged into a block heater, so my car would freeze up. I don't know what the reason is, but I'm just recognizing that I don't do that now. Isn't that interesting, Andrew? It adds to your character. And that's funny that you say that because of these things that I know about you now, right? About your passion of possibly, right? And acting and stuff like this, that it makes me a little bit more seeing it and realizing your personality, right? Yeah. That's interesting that you say that. But now I would realize, now if you had said that to me, Andrew, right? Even a year ago, I wouldn't have gotten it. I would have went, what? No, not our Andrew, right? Not Andrew, the all knowing. But because I know your other passions, right? Your other that's what it is. It's your passions, right? It's your passions. And some of these passions stick around with us for a little while. And sometimes they go away. And sometimes those passions go away, but they still stick with us for our whole lives. Isn't that true? That's true. But those usually are the things that we give up to get something better, to get something bigger, right? Like when we find the woman of our dreams or the man of our dreams, right? And we're on a career goal and we're moving and we're going to be doing this and right, this is going to happen in our lives and we have these big dreams, but sometimes, right, in those relationships, and you know what those relationships could do to add to your life, the adventures, the experiences you would have within that relationship, that sometimes, right, we make sacrifices. Sometimes we'll sacrifice our dreams and our ambitions and our goals. But that, it's up to you to look at it whether or not that it's a sacrifice, or is that a pivot, right? Are you making a decision and making a change in your life? And this is part of what my show that I'm going to be doing every single day is going to be about, right? It's about always like making sure that we're taking care of ourselves and that we're advancing in little ways, right? That we're taking those walks on the beach whenever we can, because when you do things like that for yourself, number one, it's calming your system down. And when you calm your system down, ideas can happen, right? You can make decisions, start new projects. We can make change in our lives. We could sometimes just even make realizations of the mess and the doo doo that we've walked into, right? And we could do a little bit of course correcting. I've done a lot of that, you guys, a ton of that in my life. My, I had a lot of interaction. I had an aunt who was a hippie, right? She was very, very pretty, very petite, and she was right in that time period, right? Um, my parents would send me off with her whenever a concert came into town or something, and I would have to be her chaperone. I think a lot of those adventures and stuff that I had with my dad, my mother, I used to question why did my mother always made things so difficult for me. Why did she let me go off and have these amazing adventures and experiences with my father, right? Experiences in a lot of cases that she should have had and I got to have. Now, where was this going to go? Can you bring it back to me? Right. Thank you. The chaperones, right? And I wondered why my mother would let my father, my dad would take me on dates and we go to fancy restaurants and have fancy dinners. I always had veal cutlets whenever they served them. I loved the veal cutlets. But we'd go to fancy restaurants, or he'd take me to a play or a symphony. We'd have some kind of dress up day. I wasn't allowed to go to the casinos or anything, but he did take me to Vegas or Reno one time. It was a huge trip. Oh, such an amazing trip. And he took me, we were only supposed to be gone for a few days. We had this car that blew black soot out the back end of the car. And my dad picked me up from school, and I thought there was an emergency, and I ran out to him, right? And he says, "Oh, do you want to go to Reno?" I think he said my mom had to work, and I said yes, right? And I said I don't know if he packed my bag or we drove home for a little bit, and I packed my bag. But we drove down to Reno. It's a 2-day drive from Vancouver. I grew up in Vancouver, British Columbia. 2-day drive to get down there. Oh yes, it was Reno because we stayed in the same hotel when we went down there as a family. We were always down there, right? My dad was a compulsive gambler, and we were staying at the Mates Hotel, and I don't know why I'm telling this story one time, but we were only supposed to be gone for a few days, but oh, the gambling, that's what it was. And I couldn't gamble, but I could stand in the lobby, and they always had slot machines beside the lobby, and I didn't know that they make those machines a little bit higher payout because when people see those machines going off all the time, it draws people into the casino. So there's a good tip for you if you guys are gamblers and go to Reno or Vegas or casinos or whatever. Play those video lottery terminals. It'll be 4 years this September. I had to backtrack on my calculator because I couldn't really believe it's been that long since I've gambled, right? And again, I have to say grateful for this digital age because if it wasn't for this platform, you guys, if it wasn't for my commitment to my brand, right? I would have been still a VLT addict because none of this would have happened, right? Not a chance because I wouldn't have even been able, right? All this money for my beautiful laptop, right? It would have been in a gambling machine, 100%. I truly did not believe. I remember praying to God and asking God to get me off of those machines. Yeah, I remember I said, "Oh my goodness, somebody just needs to shoot themselves in the head in front of the lottery office or something for them to realize that they have to get these machines out of the hotels and out of the public spaces because it destroys life. It truly does." But me and my dad had a big win. He won lots and lots and lots of money. We ended up staying in Reno. We were only supposed to be there for a couple of days. We ended up staying there for a few weeks. I paid for that, right? I earned that memory, earned the right to cherish that memory, earned the right to tell that story. And there were lots of lessons in that story, right? Lots of lessons and lots of amazing experiences and lots of special time that I had with my father. I didn't have, that was just time that I had between me and him and nobody else. It was absolutely amazing. And I don't think really we did too much. He was an adult and I was a kid, but we just enjoyed being with each other, right? And that was the truth. I loved listening to him. I loved hanging out with him, and I think he enjoyed me just as much as I enjoyed him. Maybe it was because I sat in my seat and just stared out the window. I used to space out lots as a kid. It's part of my trauma growing up, right? We all have a little bit of residue of what's going on, and it's part of the quirkiness of us being friends, right? And us getting together. But we are an amazing crew. We definitely are. And as much as I say I'm grateful for this digital age, right? I'm grateful for you guys and I hope you guys realize that I'm very surprised though that you haven't gotten your card yet. That's over 2 weeks now. Isn't it, Andrew? Over 2 weeks now since I've sent that card? I know you'll get it, but it's just strange in the realization of how slow the postal service is. Maybe just between Canada and the States, right? Maybe that's what it is, because also just as much as I can say, oh, it takes a long time for the postal service, you got to remember that there is customs, right? So it could have gotten stuck at customs. I don't think I put anything. I can't remember if I put anything in the envelope. Oh, I did put a couple of things in the envelope, didn't I, Andrew? I was sending you those postcards from the cruise lines. I've been watching cruise line reviews. Do you ever watch those, Andrew, on YouTube? They are so amazing. You really get to feel like you're part of the cruise, and it's guys who just love, like, these guys love cruise ships. And these guys actually will take one cruise, get off at the docks at the end of the cruise, and board, or and actually not just board, but run so they don't miss the next cruise. And they cruise all over the place, and they cruise from the little cruise lines to the big cruise lines. And I've been learning about different cruise lines, Andrew. It's really quite interesting. They just finished the most expensive cruise ship in in history, and there was a big celebration. Also, they did make a replica of the Titanic, didn't they? How come we're not hearing anything about that ship? Because that ship was actually a cruise ship also, wasn't it? The replica of the Titanic. Oh my goodness. I bet you that ship would do absolutely crazy business right now. Maybe it's out of politeness. Maybe I'll Google that tonight or something, because it seems to me that would be a story that would be floating around in social media right now, because that ship is finished, and I think it's already done its maiden voyage, right? And it's the replica of the Titanic. Have you guys heard anything about it? Oh my goodness. It's funny, but it's not funny, Andrew, right? But you're 100%. Um um that's good question, because I have reflected on it, right? I do like veal when I go for fancy dinner and stuff. I always, if they serve veal cutlets, I will usually have a veal cutlet if it's in a fancy restaurant. But yeah, good question, Andrew. Yes, I did see that movie Casino with Robert De Niro and Sharon Stone. Oh, okay. So it's not anything for us to worry about. I'm sure it's not. Oh, well then, Andrew, I will I will I will email you. I will email you one of my channels that I have been watching. There's a married couple that do the cruises, and they rate the cruises, and they talk about they take a walk around all the cruise ships, and they show everybody all the buffets. They'll have the buffet night, and they'll go through who has the best buffets on what cruise ships. Different, because some cruise ships do floor shows, some have casinos, some have fancy swimming pools, some have all of that. Some of them have helicopter pads and water slides, dozens and dozens of restaurants, places for the kids to have fun, senior cruises, single cruises. Yeah, so I've been watching them. Oh, Andrew, you'll love them. I swear, Andrew, if you take a look, you'll love those. Um, Maybe the keywords when you're looking for them on YouTube is cruise ship review. If you Google that, Andrew, I wish I remembered their names, because it's a recent, I just recently picked them up since I got those postcards. Maybe that's something telling me something, Andrew, that maybe we should be putting on a cruise ship, and have a get together where we can all hang out on a cruise ship. No, if I thought if we were all to get together, I would like to rent like a big bus with, like a washroom and a little kitchen area on it, right? But I would love to rent that and take us all to my resort, my resort, which would be up in Thunder Bay, and it would be an amethyst digging resort. Doesn't that sound like fun? Out in the bush, out in the wilderness, out in the mountains, right? And it would be like a resort, a hotel, right? Kind of like the cruise ships. And I wouldn't have lots of features in that. I would want um, good digging areas. I'd want some walking trails because it would have to be out in Mother Nature because the whole idea, it's a resort, right? It's a Mother Nature resort. And I want everybody to come there and have fun and dig crystals. But I would like there to be nice restaurants. I would like there to be an amphitheater, right? One outside and then one inside with, of course, all the techniques, right? So that people and businesses, because I would want to bring kids in, like low income kids, kids from low income families or families with addictions, right? To invite those kids to come and have an experience. But at the same time, it would have to be financially supported. So I thought, well, if it could be a space where big names, big thought leaders would come in, like, uh, just really big names to come in and they could, or big companies to come in and bring their employees to unwind and to regroup and to refocus, right? And that they would actually be able to work their brand, and the people who are paying for their employees to come to this resort would have a platform to, right, to compound uh, the ideas and the mission statements of their companies and in their organizations. But that would fuel um, sending some good cheers. What I do on my live show in the morning, I'm sending some good cheer to anybody. I'm sending the wish that it's a false alarm. If you've never hung out with me before, um, I live behind a fire station, so every once in a while the fire trucks go by my place. Right, Andrew? Oh, Andrew, you're going to have to find, but you don't sacrifice. You keep showing up here with me on Sundays, but you're going to get hooked on those videos, Andrew. And I bet you, right? You should go on a cruise. Have you ever been on a cruise, Andrew? I think I asked you that question before if you've ever been on a cruise. Oh my goodness, Andrew. Would that not be a great goal, a great ambition, a great gift to yourself, right? To go on a cruise ship. You love the cruise ships. Nowadays, there are places where you can go on trips all by yourself. They're actually looking for people who just want to go on traveling excursions as a sightseer to different countries and stuff. And they have these excursions all over the place. I've looked at them myself because there are places I would like to go, right? But if I went to these places, I would have to go by myself because, right? Who do I know who would invest their last penny to go to Egypt, to go to the new museum in Cairo? Oh my goodness. The new museum opened up this year. I would have loved to seen the museum. I bet you it's absolutely spectacular. I wonder if they have the museum online, that we could tour the museum virtually. Right, it's the digital age. It would be a way to bring, maybe for a small fee, they could raise more money But of course, they'd want people to come to the museum, right, to get that fee to help to pay for the renovations because it was a big project to renovate that museum. Yeah, the Museum. It's got all the mummies, right? Yeah, from the Pharaoh, the Kings, or sorry, right? Valley of the Kings. I was so happy this week, and this week was a week full of ups and downs and disappointments and accomplishments. It was a mixed bag, but there was a lesson attached to every single one, and I took the lessons seriously, right? So seriously, it just kind of weighed on me a little bit, but I was kind to myself in the process, but at the same time, right, make some decisions about the person that I want to become, right? The person that I was always meant to be. And again, grateful to be here, right? 61 years old, and I have this live show that I do every Sunday. And in 2 days, is it 2 days? Yeah, on Tuesday morning, I will be coming live with my show. It's called What's My Good Cheer, you guys. Don't feel you need to participate. If you want to pop in and say hi, much appreciated. If you want to check out the kind of content that I'm putting out there, amazing, right? That's not to say that you're going to resonate with it, but I suspect that we show up here every Sunday for a reason, right? And even though in the beginning we might not realize what that reason is, right? We don't judge how the friendships come into our lives and how these experiences come into our lives. It is what we choose it to be, right? And I suspect that, you guys love me for all the trivial and huge pivots that I have done on my brand. But in order to come full circle, right, to give myself that chance, that opportunity to be successful, I have to be genuine, right? And I think if I bring a genuine experience to my platform, that I think the people that hang out with me on Sunday nights, right, even if they don't get me, they'll appreciate me because you love me for a reason, right? I'm a little bit off, but we're all a little bit off, aren't we? And we found this space that we can just be ourselves and then just, right, understanding it takes all kinds to make the world. And as long as we interacting with common courtesy and kindness, wow, right? Yeah. Happy to have you guys here, but I'll be happy to have you guys on my new channel too. If you want to participate, if you don't, happy to have you on Sunday nights. Don't let that change, right? Because this is our time together on Sunday nights, and I'm looking forward to actually doing a premiere here on Sunday night one night where I can actually be at my keyboard and participating in the comments too. This is amazing because I can voice and I can express in that connection, right? But if I could come in as a commenter, as a friend, I wouldn't even be a moderator, would I? Right? And I would just be somebody in the comments with you, right? Contributing in the same manner that you guys contribute each and every week. I'm really happy that you guys are here. Little bit of a mishmash week that I had. good stuff. I had some bad stuff, but one of those good things. Um, I don't have a lot of things in my life from my childhood. What I have in my hand here are 2 pages of an antique book that I laminated with packing tape. So they're plastic. They're solid. They're with me forever. And I happen onto these in a old house my dad rented in some built-ins. It was an old book, and it was an old David Copperfield book, and it was an old book on etiquette. And what it is, it's etiquette. So on one side here, and I may have shown this to you guys, I do believe I remember showing this to you guys. You may remember, you may not. On one side, on this one, it's called the what will her future be. And on one side, right, she's studious, and she's virtuous in the next one, and then she's a mom in the next one, and then she's a grandma and a mentor in the next one, right? And then on the other side of the page, and because this is the choices that she made, right, and she strived for these things, and then on this side, it's through her choices what she ended up being. And in one of the choices, she was the writing is really small, where she didn't go to school, she hang with the wrong crowd, um, uh, unscrupulous life, and then immoral and outcasted. And then on the bottom, it's increpid and poverty stricken and wretchedness, right? And then it was the same thing, and it was a picture, and it was just a stating of my how I um how I made changes in my life, right? Right? We all get to choose in our life, and we don't always get to have good influence, and our parents are going to dictate which side of this page we are going to be on, right? And that is the truth. And here's the one for the boys. What will his future be? And it's the same kind of idea. On one side, studious, right? Right? And then on the other side, you take a look at it, and it's all through our choices. So when I say my other show, What's My Good Cheer, this is all mindset. This is This is wanting something better. This is being meant for something more. This is when you've had your boundaries crossed one too many times. This is the struggle. This is the hairy scary. This is the trauma does this to us, right? And we can find ourselves in our limiting beliefs. We can find ourselves in our coping mechanisms, which are addictions, right? We can find ourselves in situations wherein we're self-loathing or self-harming, and that's a truth too. So these are the people I want to help, right? People who are struggling this way, and you know you guys being caregivers, right? And you also knowing the pain of struggles, that that I really do want to bring this to my channel. I really want to bring uh, an opportunity. And I know I can't reach the kids. That's the thing, right? Because of these ideas of elders mishandling the children and not trusting in them. Plus, the world we live in, right? Yes, it's the digital age, but also it's crazy town out there, that we have to protect the kids, right? So we are not going to get to the kids. But maybe your grandpa, right? Maybe you're a grandma. Maybe you're a good, caring next door neighbor. Maybe you're somebody who watches out for your neighborhood grocery store, right? Because they contribute to your life. They make it so you don't have to walk 6 miles away, right? So you want to make sure that we're taking care of the people around us, that we're in friendly persuasion, right? Give people another choice. And that's the thing, it has to be their choice. And I do believe this is the truth because I grew up and both of my parents, right, they were very opposite in everything. But that idea that we had the opportunity to make our own choices, every single one of us kids, and I didn't make all good choices, right? But it was dictated to me, a lot of it, a lot of it in friendly persuasion, right? And some of it in misery persuasion, because we know misery loves company, right? That I made some missteps. But in these past few years, and you guys have been with me these past few years, right? I've made some great strides in my life, right? Still failing, right? Still making mistakes, but those mistakes have become uh, more quickly recognized, number one, uh, better resolvable, number two, because, right, I know how to take care of things that were rolling around and rolling into and bumping into my life and causing me all kinds of havoc and those limiting beliefs and those self-destructive behaviors, because that's what they are, right? We love to self-sabotage when we see we're getting close to something good, right? We do love to throw the obstacles in our own way, and sometimes even um, when things are just running smoothly and nothing's going on, good or bad, we go, oh my goodness, this is boring. And then again, we could become our own worst sabotagers by throwing that kind of obstacles and stuff into our lives. And so I just wanted to help, right? Again, the highly sensitives, right? And as people who are very empathic, and we understand, right, that there are a lot of people out there that are spending too much time with others. And when I came into my live today, we were talking a little bit about spending time with ourselves, right, Owen? About going off on our walks because sometimes it's just too difficult, right? It's too painful. It's too much of a struggle. It's too frustrating to be around others. It just sucks everything out of us. That sometimes all we can do is find that little time for ourselves, right? To re energize, to be able to have those moments to contemplate or, right, just to stare off into space and again re energize, right? So that we can just get right back into it, or by choosing something different, right? Maybe do something different. And that's what my show is all about. So if you find that kind of stuff interesting, yay, right? But if not, that's okay, right? But because I know you'll be here on Sunday nights. You've been with me for years and years and years. And all through all this changing that I've done in the past few years, you're still here. Still love me, right? As much as I love you guys and I appreciate you guys so much, because in those moments when I didn't have the courage myself, that accountability to you guys, right? That you guys, knowing that you guys were going to show up every single Sunday, it made it so I showed up for myself. Because that's truly what I did, is I just showed up for myself. And look at this, right? This brand, Prairie Dodgers, been around for a long, long time now, right? It has been. And I'm pivoting again, right? I'm pivoting again. Change is coming into my life, and I'm going to welcome that change. And in 2 days, right? Whether it goes off with a little whimper, right? Maybe nobody will come in. Maybe I'll just do my live show, right? Maybe I'll fumble all over myself, but I suspect that I won't because I trust those parts of me have got it because I wouldn't be bringing it to my YouTube. My YouTube is precious to me, right? And my live show was precious to me. What's my good cheer? Something I'm very proud of. It truly is something I'm proud of on Instagram. And so bringing it to YouTube, I think that's a good move, and I think that's where it belongs, right? Because it makes my YouTube channel and my brand quite the whole package. But the beginning of the possibilities of the spectacularness of that package, right? Wait for it, you guys, right? Those adventures, have faith, right? Because, like that courage you guys give to me, right? That accountability that you guys give to me to show up every single day, right? You give me that courage to think that possibly that I can do this, right? That I'm doing this for the right reasons, number one. And number two, that I'm doing it at the right time. And I'm going to trust that that's the case. Oh, I love that. You don't happen to know, uh, is it just a line of a movie or is that an actual quote by somebody? For the experience to be of value, someone somehow must learn by it. I love that. I absolutely love that, Andrew. I'm going to use that. I don't know where I'm going to use that. I don't know where I'm going to use that, but I am going to use that 100%. Oh, Joan Crawford. Isn't that funny? Yesterday, I came across and I was doing a little bit of research, but in some of the research, Joan Crawford kept coming up. I guess it was in the conversation of narcissism because of that movie Mummy Dearest, I guess. And I was listening to Sam Vatkin, who is a expert on narcissism, and I guess he was using that movie Mummy Dearest as an example of narcissism, right? Yeah. I do remember seeing that movie, do remember what it was about, but it didn't make enough impact on me to actually remember the scenes and the exact storyline. So maybe if that movie was remade, wow, this is perfect timing for that movie to have a remake. Just putting it out there if anybody's making a movie, that would be a great one to remake, wouldn't it? Right? To get the proper stars in that one. Yeah, this day and age there's a lot of narcissism going on right now, but a lot of kids are being brought up with one parent, and that one parent is doing everything they possibly can to just keep a roof over the kid's head, right? Not thinking about their emotional well-being, just kind of hoping the school system is gonna take care of that. But the kids are struggling right now. Oh, see, and I trailed off in the conversation about this. I know I can't reach those kids. I understand that Cindy is never going to reach those kids because of policies, because of the safety, right? But who I can reach are the parents and the grandparents and the next door neighbors and the teachers and the daycare workers, right? The clergymen, the members and the congregation in the church, right? When you see these kids, you know who they are. They're the quiet ones. They're the ones with fidgety hands. They're the ones with the acne. They're the ones who won't look you in the eyes. They're the ones who will talk in whispers. They're the ones that will deny assistance if you offer it. That's a good clue to those kids. If you could do something for them, some kind word of encouragement, some recognition of something that they did well or do well. Um, right? Maybe, my dad was a big believer in little white lies, even, right? Little white lies. I look for every opportunity to compliment a child when a child is on the right path, right? It's not judging because in every culture, in every tradition, right, etiquette's going to look different, isn't it? Right? Right? It reminds me of that I guess you would call it a joke at the time, but at the same time, it's a joke that gives food for thought, that makes you think, right? It takes all kinds to make the world, and it's about perspectives. And here's a good one. I might use this if I know perspectives is one of the words that I'm going to make a deck of cards, but one of the words I've chosen is perspectives. And I'm going to use this one in telling the story of perspectives. There's a Caucasian man and his little son, right? His little son is maybe 6 or 7 years old, right? And they're walking down the sidewalk. In front of them, walking towards them, is, we'll say, an Oriental gentleman, an Asian gentleman, and his small son, 6 or 7 years old, right? And the father, the Asian father, he horks, right? Like that really snotty, clean up your chest, right? And he gets it up through his nostrils or whatever, right? And he shoots it off, right? You're just like, right? And gets the snot out and he just kind of wicks it across the sidewalk, right? Done with it. Wipes his hands on his shirt and he's done with it. And the little white boy, the little Caucasian boy, looks up at his daddy and he says, "Look at daddy, look at daddy. Look what how he blew his nose and he flicked it off out onto the sidewalk." Right? Oh my goodness. Ugh. Right? Daddy doesn't say anything. He doesn't turn it into a lesson or anything, right? And as they're getting closer, the little Caucasian, little white boy's daddy pulls out a white handkerchief and he blows his nose and he gets that hanky in there and he gets all the snot out of there, all the drizzle coming out of his nose, right? Gets that hanky, all stuffs it in his pocket, right? Little Chinese boy looks up at his daddy. Remember, this is a story on perspectives. And says, "Daddy, daddy, did you just see what he did? He blew his nose into a piece of fabric and he saved it." I'm laughing. I get it, but I've told that joke a few times in my lifetime. But it's about perspectives. So when I'm talking about things like this, right, about etiquette and values, that we have to find a way that we can interact with each other through these values, knowing that it takes all kinds to make the world, that we're going to look at each other and go, ooh, that's weird, or ooh, that's not right, that's not correct, or that's the way it's supposed to do, or don't look at them, right? Oh, right. Like what we do when somebody rolls down the sidewalk in a wheelchair and we just avert our eyes and we don't even look at them, when the most amazing thing that they could possibly hope for is to somebody just to look them in the eyes and smile at them, right? I've been guilty of that. Oh my goodness, I know that feeling because I don't like to meet eyes to start with, right? The eyes are the windows of the soul. It's not polite to dive into people's souls that way. I get it, right? But sometimes we have to make those connections. We have to see ourselves in somebody else's eyes, right? And if you smile at that somebody in the wheelchair and their face just brightened up instantly, like, oh my goodness, you just gave them the most amazing gift ever, how is that going to make you feel? And don't you think they're going to recognize how you made them feel too, right? Reward, reward the reward, right? The reward is how we make each other feel. And if somebody's not going to recognize a kindness, sometimes we have to recognize that for ourselves and give those kindnesses to ourselves. And we have to remember sometimes the kindest things in the entire world on the surface don't look kind, right? Don't look right. Might look a little funky, might look improper, might look disrespectful, but it's just the traditions and the cultures and the ideas that have been brought from one generation to the next. And unless we're having conversations, right, to get a different perspective, we might not ever cross the sidewalk with somebody who does this or does this. Maybe we'll have an opinion, maybe we won't. We're moving into a world that's just becoming a little bit indifferent to it all, indifferent to it all. And that's an unfortunate truth. But is it possible we can do a little bit of course correction and bring in a little bit of etiquette and a little bit of values to these platforms, right? Which is what YouTube and Google have been trying to do, and what our sweet Nancy has been complaining about because she keeps getting knocked off of YouTube because of the content that she puts out there is very childlike. So they have to be extra strict on that content. And that takes time to learn to be watchful of the material that you put out there. Even for myself, I'm delving into some heavy content, right? But I make sure that everybody understands that it takes all kinds to make the world. And this is friendly persuasion. These aren't um, this isn't a learning platform that I have here. When I registered it as entertainment so that it makes it so that, right, what you're being entertained by, that's up to you, right? And if you find something in that entertainment that might help you down the road, good for you. A lot of my lessons are served that way, right? Lots of my lessons. All paths lead to God. Isn't there a saying like that? It's all in our choices. It's just the idea of never giving up, just to keep going, just try and find another way. can we help people along the way, right? Along the way. Who can we influence? Who can we help out? Who can we say, good boy? Oh, that was so good. You're going to grow up to have so many friends with manners like that, right? Oh, you're so smart. Where did you learn that? Right? We can find ways to help, right? We're caregivers. We're giving all the time. So you guys know about what I want to do because I want to be a caregiver too, right? I don't caregive like you guys caregive, right? You guys caregive me. I'd like to caregive too. And I think this is how I can contribute a little bit, only because I know, right? Your purpose comes from your pain. That's how I was taught. And a lot of my pain is wrapped up in not being able to swing, right? Not to be able to consistently stay in this line, right? I was in this line. I had a lot of good things about me, right? But I was kind of stuck there. But by my own choices and my own determination and courage and the people that I have hanging with me, I know I'm running late, you guys, and the people that I have hanging out with me on Sunday night, right? Maybe you can give me the courage to understand that maybe, even if it's just one person, help them get started in making their own movement, their own choices, right? Everybody does. Oh my goodness. How is that minimalization going on in your apartment? I know you're transitioning in a new job, but have you, right? Have you minimalized anything extra? I know I'm downsizing a little bit myself, right? And and right, those are my donations. I take that back to work. I make the reward and making a little bit of space in my house, and at the same time I have that feeling of I'm contributing a little bit because I know the things that I'm giving away. I was very pleased when I had the opportunity to get them, so I know somebody else will have that same uh, excitement, right? That same gratitude, I hope, when they're able to get them too. Okay, you guys, my bum is sore on this chair. It needs a pillow. That's all it needs, right? Is a pillow. We'll get it worked out. It's adapt and conquer, learn along the way, adjust things, pivot a little bit. Big pivot coming on Tuesday, you guys, 2 days away. Oh my goodness, not even 2 days away. It's going to be fun. It's going to be good, right? Okay, everybody, that's it for tonight. We'll see each other next Sunday if I don't see you during the week. Um, Pop in, say hi if you'd like to, right? At least check it out. And if not, well, like I said, see you next Sunday. Everybody, have an amazing, 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 amazing week. Take care. Bye. Oh, treating my new laptop like it's a touch screen. Here we go. Have a great night, everybody, and have a great